almost looks like someone NCIS. What's her face?
Welcome. Today is Tuesday, December the 6th, and we got a great show for you. So anyway, hey, we've been talking about antennas and a lot of things. I know you got some more information on that, but first, you want to talk about the USS Batfish and what went on down there?
Sure. Over the weekend, I got the opportunity once again to spend some time on the USS Batfish, which is a beta Balearic. I'm hearing myself. I'm getting a feedback.
Well, just don't listen to yourself.
I can't help it. But anyway, it's a Balearic class submarine. It's about 350 feet long. It fought World War II, and it was the deadliest submarine in the theater at the time. It sunk more Japanese submarines than any other sub in the American fleet. And it has come to rest at the USS Oklahoma Memorial in Oklahoma City in Muskogee, Oklahoma. And I'm going to pull up some pictures here real quick to show you. Just recently, however, they had a couple issues with the tornado come through, and it literally knocked over the tower that they used to have. I can't find that picture, darn it. I just had it here. Anyway, so what we ended up doing is we had the special event, which was for the Pearl Harbor Memorial to remember the men that served during the bombing of Pearl Harbor and the thing that pretty much got us involved in World War II, and the sinking of the USS Oklahoma, which at that memorial museum they have the I believe, there we go, the 30-foot tower. And
you don't drive down a street like that, do you?
No. This is one of the guys. We thought it was kind of funny. We set it up on a tripod. We built up one of our new Sentinel hex beams for the boat, and we've also it also has the new 40-meter short element on it as well. And once we got it built up, we had to drive it down to the boat, and we thought it was kind of funny because we had the tripod in the back of the truck, and have a new mobile solution for the Sentinel hex beam. But they did a real good job setting it up. And my grandkids came down with us. We had to transport the antenna from the parking lot down to the submarine, and that was a fun walk. So quite literally, the antenna was mobile on the back of the pickup truck. That's my granddaughter right there, Julie. She's in the process of learning or basically training for her technician's license, but she's actually studying for both the technician and the general's license, and she says that's what she's going to do. Because, by the way, we do have another general in the family, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. So anyway, we got it set up out there, and there's the USS Batfish in the background. No, it's not connected to anything at the moment, but at that moment anyway.
Isn't there supposed to be some water there in that little gully?
It's really neat. They got this thing lit in such a way at night. The highway, which is over here, over on the side, it looks like the submarine is underway because the way this, the hills, it's not really hilly, but it's got these really slight inclines and stuff, so it actually looks like waves. So it looks like there's a submarine underway, cutting through the waves from the highway. It's one of those things that make you do a double take. And I thought that was pretty funny because it was like, oh, man. So anyway, we literally got the antenna set up, and we're currently using a temporary. It's not a tower. Let me see if I can move this thing over here. Let me zoom in. That's my granddaughter Julie again. Whoops. Got to move it over here. There we go. Let's try that. There we are. Okay, what we've got is the new tower that we finally got. It was thank you St. Charles EOC. They didn't donate it, but they definitely worked out a really good deal for the Batfish, so they could afford to bring it in. It's in the process of getting the base plate made up, and we're replacing all the not the pulleys, but the wires that basically raise the tower up, and then temporarily they're using this 40-foot crank up tower, and there's the hex beam on top of it. What's nice though is they're leaving it there, and they literally will crank that thing down at night, and it goes down to about this level. It really worked out well for us. Here's a picture of the hex beam itself, where you've got, it didn't have the 80 meter option, but you've got 6 meters, 10 meters, 12 meters, 15, and 17 in, like, let's say a small group, and then you have 20 meters. They all get fed with one feed, and then we have another feed that feeds our the 40 meter option, which is literally on top of the standard hex beam by about 6 inches to a foot, and it's fed separately. And what was really nice, they had let me pull this up real quick. Similar to what ICOM did during field day, they had a combiner and 3 bandpass filters for the for 20 through 10. Actually, it was 20, 15, and 10. And then on 40 meters, they got a bandpass filter just for 40. So they're literally able to operate up to 4 radios from one antenna inside the submarine. And that really made for kind of a fun time, because there were times when we were inside operating. Can you see that? There we go. We were operating inside where we had the 7300 up and operating. We had someone sitting right next to this young man working digital, and then we had the guys in the radio room working CW. So we had, at one time, we had 3 radios going at the same time off the same antenna, which that made for a really fun time inside the boat. It was kind of neat having one antenna, be able to do all kinds of things at the same time. Let me back out of some of these pictures here. I got one more here for you. Where'd it go? Sorry. Had a good crew. Before, this is Paul. I forgot Paul's call sign. And then this is Wade. They all set up their specific antennas. Paul set up a simple delta loop, and Wade set up another loop that was more like an 80-meter loop that they strung through all the trees. And by the way, this flagpole right now is pretty much gone from the tornado. Let me turn this off here real quick and go back to stop sharing. But anyway, that was it was a good time. We had quite a few young basically young amateurs, and some of them were general class licenses, and some of them were just learning as we speak, for their technician's license. And oh, by the way, just for a really cool announcement, my youngest son, Colorado, last weekend tested and passed his generals. So he now has a general class license. And what was really kind of funny is once he passed the test, he says, I'm going ahead and starting to study for his extra. And that's absolutely, kind of makes my heart go pity-pat. I was very excited about that.
That's great.
So anyway, that's kind of get you all caught up on what's going on. And of course, Rochelle, just one more real quick thing. My wife, she is one of those kind of people that the one thing she does every year that I honestly, people will say, well, why don't you help out? Because it is more entertaining for me to watch her do this than anything else. It's like, why would I ever want to mess with a master when she's working? And literally, this is can you see that? I can't tell.
Yeah, I'm seeing a bird and ornament.
Yeah, it's a cardinal, and that's my wife's working the Christmas tree. She does some of the most spectacular work, when it comes to working with the Christmas trees. And so it's like, I enjoy watching it. It's one of my hobbies next to working on the radios.
So let's see, there's a question in the chat room. Let's see if I can go split there. Yeah, pretty good. Lean to your right just a little bit. There you go. Okay, question in the chat room. How do you get the coax into the into the sub? You didn't drill a hole through or open a window, so what do you do?
Well, actually, on the submarine itself, let me see if I can find a picture. Over by the conning tower, there is a access panel inside the tower. And they literally ran the coax up underneath the boat through the skin. There's there's like an outer shell of the submarine, then you have an inner shell, and they ran the coax through the outer shell up to the conning tower where there's an access panel, and then they brought the coaxes down. So that's how they got the coax into the submarine.
You could have brought it into torpedo tubes. Maybe.
Well, the torpedo tubes are still functional, and they're on display. So it's what's really neat about that. Let me see if I can find that picture. I've got a really nice picture of the torpedo tubes. Got to find that in my Dropbox here.
So functional? You mean like, what is it? Compressed air and all that stuff? I mean.
No, the tanks are empty, but it could function again. But I wouldn't want to try that. It would be kind of silly and dangerous and deadly.
Could.
Well, there isn't any. How do I say this? There isn't any salt water, because remember, part of the launching process is they use compressed air and they use seawater, and then they literally push the torpedo out. I'm almost there, I think. The torpedo out the tube with air and whatchamacallit, and salt water and seawater. Do you hear a hiss? Is that what you're hearing?
No, Kathy was asking something about the picture up there, but it looks okay to me.
Okay, I'm trying to find that picture. Well, anyway, I won't get into that. But anyway, yeah, that's how you get the coax in there. And what's interesting, though, is it is kind of difficult to do anything on the sub, because everything in the sub has. Just imagine there's this tube, and they put all kinds of stuff in the tube, and then they made room for the people to move around in. So it's even a person like me has a lot of difficulty moving around in the submarine. Mm-hmm. And there are, of course, some hams that will never be able to go into that submarine because it is just small. And it's amazing to me to think that there was like 78. The crew, it was a crew of 78 personnel. Can you imagine that, Tom? Just 78 people in a little submarine.
Now that's at a museum, right? I mean, it is a museum, I think.
Yes, it is a museum. You can go see it anytime.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you can take tours through it.
Well, I read where you can spend the night there in the submarine.
Yes, you can. As a matter of fact, while we were there, we had a troop of Boy Scouts camping outside, and then one night they stayed in the sub itself. And that was an experience for them. It's fun watching people's eyes when they go through, and then all of a sudden they realize they were sleeping on a submarine. And one of the side effects of that sub is it still stinks. It still smells like batteries and paint and lead, not lead, but battery paint, diesel, and all the stuff that went into making the submarine.
Well, that's there's been a number of special events there, I think, in this past year,
Yes. As a matter of fact, for instance, the Museum Ships Weekend, they operate, and then the Pearl Harbor is another one, and then they're going to be doing another one for Winter Field Day, and that will be, I don't know what date that is. If Paul, you're on, please text me not text me, or you can text me, or if you're on the chat room, go ahead and put that date down there for me. I think Paul's on there. I can't remember what the Winter Field Day is, but they do other special events. They like to do a lot of, how do I say it? The radio club itself spends a lot of time working on the sub itself. It's like when we go to the sub, the kids, like Montana or Colorado and Julie and George are all working their radios, but we're all working on fixing stuff in the submarine. So it's, you kind of really get into working on things because you're trying to restore things back to normal. For instance, one of the projects I'm working on is there are some knobs that are missing on some equipment, and what we're going to do is they're getting me at least one knob. We're going to make a mold of it. Then we're going to cast, replacement knobs, so that way, things don't look like they're missing, major components.
Okay. Well, let's see. It's about 9 o'clock. You want to get into some antenna stuff?
Yeah, I'm on. Oh, I've been.
Oh, you got some more? You got more there with the Batfish?
Yeah, I was just saying again.
Do you have more for the Batfish?
Oh, I've got lots of work to do with the Batfish.
No, I mean for to talk about tonight. I didn't want to.
Oh no, I think we're good. we wanted to get the scouts on the air in E4RD. We even approached the scout leaders, and they weren't interested. I don't understand why, but they kindly declined our how do I say this? Our invitation to get them on the air, and also to help them with their merit badge, and do something similar to like what we did in Las Colinas for Hamcom, where we literally processed something like 320 scouts through the station. They all made contacts on HF, and they all made contacts on VHF. And what was really cool is once you start doing stuff like that, especially, there we go. Winter Field Day is set for January 30th and 31st. Thank you. I'm surprised Katie didn't know that. Anyway, just joking. But it was really cool, and I was really hoping that we could have gotten the scouts on the air, because that makes the special event even more special, because now you got scouts and you got people lining up to talk to the scouts and the submarine, and there's a lot of enthusiasm, and I believe it's an excellent introduction to our hobby, which for me, I want to get more kids involved, and this is the only way I can think of that we can do that, and that's like get my children, my grandchildren, and all their friends involved. And I think there was something on the order of 10 kids, that were ham related, that most of them, except for maybe 2 or 3, all had their licenses, which to me, that was wonderful.
All right. Let's talk antennas. What do you got? You were going to talk about, I guess, several things. You mentioned things like resources and publications and stuff.
We can do that. Yeah. The one of the things that we've been talking about antennas. Yep, my 3 boys. Yep, that's right. That Jerry's on W5BFF. Really neat family. Those boys were fantastic during the show. During the special event. They knew how to work the radios. They were very helpful, especially when it came to doing things. And that's what I kind of like about the younger kids, is that they're not afraid to get in and get their hands dirty. And for instance, Julie spent a lot of time helping me and helping everyone put the hex beam together. And once the hex beam was up, they stuck with it. And then, of course, now they have that, that sense of pride to know that, whenever they go by the Batfish or even talk about it, or there's pictures, I helped put that antenna up, and that's really kind of a cool opportunity. So anyway, one of the things that antenna doesn't stay there, does it? Oh yeah. Oh, it's good. Permanent.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, we donated it to the Batfish, so that to replace the Mosley that got turned into a pretzel.
Okay.
If I can find that antenna, I'll show it to you. But it was not pretty when it was, when I found it. There we go, Storm. Nope, that's not it. Anyway, so one of the things that we've been talking about